Where the hell is that wind coming from? It turns out Nagisa actually comes out here to practice her lines for a play, which tells us, as well as Tomoya, that she has full intentions of starting the drama club all over again, after its hiatus. Meanwhile, in the other world, the little girl is building something, crafting it with a bunch of weird objects, which turns out to be a robot. The voice ends up talking more and comes up with the idea that all he would have to do is wish himself into this world. Thus, he will be able to embody the actual robot itself. But forget about that mess. Here comes my girl Kyofu Bicycle. Let's go! Yes! So anyways, after Tomoya rudely was in the way of my beautiful queen, she goes on to tell us that yeah, she's not used to driving this thing and she just got her license like last week. Oh, look at her, she's so adorable. Well, it turns out Sunohara also showed up on time at school, and it's not for any justifiable reason, rather than it's just to get back at Tomoya. Now after that meaningless filler, we come across these two guys who then tell Okazaki about this weird girl who would just go around, a ghost girl of some sort that gives you a cursed item. Then after that, Tomoya ends up walking into the library, where he comes across Kitome Ichinose. She's actually extremely smart and intelligent, to the point where she's even allowed to skip classes because of how smart she is. Tomoya goes on to question her weird ritualistic activities, which she for some reason ignores and then just starts pulling out food. Tomoya then tells her that she's not allowed to eat inside of the library. And you know what they say, the quickest way to a man's heart is a man's stomach, which she does offer her food to Tomoya, which Tomoya obliges.
Okay, since you offered.
Oh no,
What's the matter?
I only have one pair of chopsticks.
Okay, that's some bullshit. After such a weird interaction, it had made Tomoya wonder if that was the very ghost girl in question. But all of Tomoya's worries are put at rest thanks to Ro Fubayashi telling Tomoya about Katome's recent achievements, such as ranking top 10 in every single subject, to the point where she's able to study basically whatever she wants. Although after that, since Ro is here, Tomoya now tells Ro about how her sister ended up almost—
Hey you, Tomoya!
Huh?
But due to my girl's spidey senses, she just absolutely comes over and grabs Tomoya and puts him against the wall. Shit, let this be the first time. For some odd reason, everybody's calling her bi. In a weird sense, they're just saying, oh, she might be a lesbian because she's so masculine. Which, yeah, I can see that. But hey, I'm always good with conversion therapy. Let's do it. Okay, just for the fact that I am the YouTuber in question that is actually reviewing this whole thing, I can't even begin to try to explain what's going on here, so hey, you want to go to the club room? Yeah, sure. Alright, let's go. Within the drama club room, Tomoya and Nagisa end up coming up with a flyer so that they can gather more members for the club. Although Tomoya points out that they should probably wait until after Founders Festival to actually put them up, and I actually looked it up. Is that a thing they do in Japan? No, it's not commonly known as that. It's commonly known as Gakuensai, something like that. It's basically where all the clubs in a school end up coming together to put on their best celebration. Although with Nagisa finally finishing the little poster, Tomoya asks if there's anything that's actually missing, which, you know what, he's right. We need a little sex appeal. So he gives Nagisa the idea to put, oh, the prettiest girl will be there, and Nagisa starts to get flustered because obviously we're talking about her. This gets Nagisa all riled up, and Tomoya says that if she puts that, maybe one of the dumb guys in class will end up joining the club. But Nagisa doesn't want anybody like that. She wants somebody who's truly dedicated to her cause. And along with that, asks if Tomoya could actually be the leader instead. But Tomoya doesn't actually have any interest on being a part of the drama club, even when it's revived. Tomoya goes on to tell Nagisa that she is the main leader and the one that makes all the decisions, and that she definitely does want to be the leader because there are plays that she does want to do, and ultimately gives her the decision on crafting some kind of slogan or something in particular that should get people's attention when they walk by the poster.
Dango, dango, big dango family. There!
With that being the case, Nagisa asks Tomoya if it's okay if she puts the big Dango family. Well, it doesn't matter now, does it? That's what Nagisa wants to do.
Tonkatsu!
What?
And by this point, in case you're wondering, yes, Nagisa yells out random pieces of food simply just to cheer her up and make her feel better. It helps her to be a little bit more brave, and also she says it to herself just in case she needs to reward herself after the accomplishment. Funny enough, instead of waiting till after Founders Festival, they go ahead and put the posters up anyways. This now leaves Tomoya only simply to hang out with himself, which he ends up going into a random classroom, stumbling upon this little girl, carving what seems to be some kind of fish star. Nonetheless, after cutting herself accidentally, she sees Tomoya standing right next to her, which absolutely freaks her out. Tomoya only wants to know if this is the art club room, So Tomoya asks her if she's doing a little bit of art homework, but then when Tomoya asks her exactly what's the thing in her hands, although within the state, Tomoya then takes the knife out of her hand and notices that it's super dull, which makes it incredibly dangerous to be cutting anything with. Of course, she doesn't like this and wants it back, although Tomoya is not presenting that as an option due to how jacked up her hand is from all the cutting, finding different ways to reinforce this statement through her touching his hand, and even her giving a high five, wait, do a little dribble, plays a little basketball, and does a high five, yeah, it hurts. After that little interaction, we see that Tomoya has finally put up the last of one of Nagisa's posters. With Tsunohara coming around the corner non-shockingly, he then scoffs at the idea that Tomoya is taking part in club activities, because he always believed that Tomoya was absolutely disgusted by these things. This statement does visibly actually piss off Tomoya, but it never pisses him off to the point where he makes this vocal to Tsunohara, and Tsunohara is aloof to even the fact that Tomoya is actually mad about him saying this. But then Tsunohara then shrugs it off, and essentially tells Tomoya that he can explain it to him later. Oh well, at least Nagisa didn't hear any of that. Oh. Back at home, Tomoya is making a bunch of dango kebabs for Nagisa, but in the process while he's making them, his dad ends up coming over his shoulder, which sends Tomoya in a shock. He goes on to say that the dango family is sort of nostalgic to him, and asks Tomoya what he plans on doing with these. Tomoya of course says that they're for a friend, and the dad sort of slightly picks up one of them at least, and offers his hand in helping him craft them. But Tomoya goes off in a huge fucking fit, yelling at his dad to not touch it, going on to yell even more, asking why his dad always talks to him like a stranger, and asking what exactly is he to him. Of course, Tomoya then grabs all the dongos and rushes out, but this is also a very confusing interaction for me. Even with the full knowledge that I know about this anime, I can easily say that Tomoya is overreacting, and in regards to how he's interacting, this would lead us to think that his dad did something actually quite deplorable to him, something that was so irredeemable that would cause Tomoya to— oh my god, Nagisa was so fucking close. Tomoya of course gives her the presents, and surprisingly, I think you're supposed to eat these. Despite the fact that they're not the commercialized treats that would be sold in stores, Tomoya making them for her is satisfying enough for Nagisa. It turns out the reason why Nagisa had a broom this whole time was because that she was supposed to clean the classroom along with her other classmates, but as a result of everybody doing the cleaning, she ended up being left alone to do it on her own. This kind of disparaged her from going further with the cleaning because she understands that she's extremely clumsy and she might make a mess of things. Apparently, a lot of her other older classmates ended up teasing her for it, so she states that Tomoya basically doing this for her definitely lifted her spirits. Either way, Nagisa is happy. Well, come on, Tomoya, say something, goddammit. Well, you know you're true friends when you have an awkward silence. Tomoya goes on to tell Nagisa that him and Tsunohara were drafted as school athletes. This would at least explain for why Tsunohara would state for what Tomoya had said a long time ago before even knowing about Nagisa and her ambitions for the club. Simply enough, we do know that Tsunohara was for the soccer team, but got kicked off as a result of all of his fighting. But for Tomoya, he was assigned with basketball in mind, although I'm not exactly sure if it's the school he's currently at that allowed him the opportunity to play basketball for a free scholarship, or if it was an entirely different school, and he's just at that school specifically because it's for probably normal people that aren't athletes. Shortened to the point, Tomoya had to abruptly quit his whole entire basketball career, and Nagisa asks if it's because he hates basketball, but Tomoya says that's not the case. But instead of actually answering any of that, Tomoya just laments on the fact that it's been forever since he's touched an actual basketball, which then coins the idea for Nagisa that they both should play basketball against each other.
I may not look it, but I've got good reflexes.
Nagisa, I bet if I threw a fucking hacky sack at you, you would probably drop it within the instant it touched you. Nagisa goes on to say that she would like to play basketball at the basketball courts after school. Tomoya of course disagrees with this, but we never get any confirmation, at least from Nagisa, that she got the fucking point. With Tomoya hanging out with Tsunohara as usual at his place, Tsunohara then notices that Tomoya is constantly looking outside a little bit more often than normal, leading with Tomoya to ask for Tsunohara's umbrella, because of course he's going outside to check up on if Nagisa is at the basketball courts, which surprisingly, she fucking is. But seriously, I have a point in contention with this as a viewer in my own right, because Nagisa is known for being sick way too often. You could have at least texted Okazaki about— wait a second. Despite the fact that there was no reassurance that Tomoya would actually come, Nagisa still took that chance and decided to wait in the rain for him, in the off chance that he did decide to come around. She says that Tomoya has always been very nice in helping her with her problems, so the least I guess that she could do was play basketball with him, at least as a trade-off. I mean, personally me, I would have gone for a blowy, but sure, playing basketball, that's what a real man's treat is. Well, it's like they say, ball is life. And my balls are creating life inside of Kyo's mouth. But due to the heavy rain possibly making it even more dangerous to actually play basketball outside, she then just only adorably rounds it up to wanting to see Tomoya shoot a basket. And she says, cutely, that she's never seen any real basketball players shoot a basket in front of her. Tomoya then agrees to it, and she gives the ball to Tomoya, which Tomoya does a little bit of dribbling, starts breaking some ankles, yeah, that's what I'm talking about, boy! But then, as he starts to square up for a shot, the ball then doesn't actually gain any height. Instead, it falls to the ground, leaving Tomoya to then go onto his knees and thus explain to Nagisa that he can no longer raise his right arm. This of course takes her by shock, and Tomoya goes on to explain that in the 9th grade, Tomoya and his father got in a huge fight, and thus Tomoya's dad ended up accidentally or purposefully critically injuring his right arm to the point of not being able to lift it. Not even the best doctors could unfortunately fix it. There's possibly a chance that all the gambling hurted Tomoya's ability to actually get a fine surgery. Most likely, the kind of injury that Tomoya has from his father is probably the rupture of the certain muscle known as the supraspinatus. It essentially is a rotator cuff muscle, and it's big time responsible for allowing the arm to lift in general, but this ultimately does conclude in the reason for why Tomoya can never play basketball again. With this realization, Nagisa then starts to back away and is in shock that she caused Tomoya to once again be in pain, resulting in Nagisa falling down and knocking out as a result.
Furukawa!